Humanity has stepped into the unknown simply by failing to take effective action to stop climate change. We will soon pass tipping points that will destabilize the climate for centuries. Sea level rise is one of the most dangerous consequences. Only Bangladesh is likely to suffer more than the Netherlands. A quarter of the nation lies below sea level and is protected from flooding by an intricate series of dikes, canals, and pumping stations. Oddly, we are not leading efforts to halt climate change. The worst effects are centuries in the future, but sea level is already rising. The ultimate rise and speed at which it will occur are uncertain, but it is sensible to begin adapting to this sad reality. What form might this take? This is the Netherlands today. Lowland areas are shown in blue and green. Uplands are yellow and orange, but comprise only half of the nation's land area. The dikes were designed to accommodate some rise in sea level, but as early as 2100, this will become inadequate to protect the lowlands from flooding unless strong measures are taken to stop warming. Raising dikes beyond a further 1 or 2 meters is impossibly expensive. How will the Netherlands adapt to this threat? We will have to move the lowland population into the limited upland areas, which lie mostly in the south and east of the nation and far from the big cities. The Netherlands has long been a seafaring nation, and major seaports, including Amsterdam, arose near the North Sea. The lowland cities will eventually have to be abandoned. Clearly, if most of the Dutch population must be relocated to higher ground, the available land will have to be used with utmost efficiency. The lands that will be entirely or occasionally flooded can still be used, but will no longer be safe to inhabit. This task will take a century and will consume decades' worth of our GDP. It is essential to get this work right the first time. The new Dutch cities will require several things besides efficient use of land. Costs of constructing infrastructure and buildings will need to be kept low. The methods used must be sustainable over the long term. The new cities must have excellent quality of life to ease the stress of a difficult and sorrowful transition. As it happens, only one approach meets all of these requirements, and that is the car-free city. Why should this be so? No automobile infrastructure is required, which is a major savings in land area, initial costs, and operating expense. The streets may be made as narrow and cozy as is typical of traditional Dutch cities. The iconic Dutch bicycle would play an even larger role than it does today. Aside from walking and cycling, most transport would be by rail, the most efficient method of mechanized passenger transport ever devised. Dutch trains already run on sustainable electricity. Energy use can be minimized simply by building traditional Dutch row houses, which are relatively inexpensive and which minimize the exposure of exterior walls to the chilly Dutch winters. Cities must be fireproof, and this requires masonry construction, which is usual here. Brick is the traditional material, and I propose a return to its use. Concrete is too energy-intensive for routine use, and it only lasts a century. Finally, car-free cities are the ideal hearth for forging and maintaining a strong sense of community. This will be much needed during the arduous transition. So, if the Netherlands needs to move most of its population out of harm's way, there is no better or cheaper way than to build car-free cities. At traditional Dutch urban densities, plenty of green space would remain. These cities would enjoy an even higher quality of life than characterizes the nation today. We should therefore stop new construction in lowland areas and start building new car-free cities in the uplands. Or should we simply lead the world by getting serious about stopping climate change within the 10 years that remain before it goes out of control? I love the old Dutch cities, so I vote to stop CO2 emissions on an emergency basis. Removing cars from cities is the quickest way to make big cuts in emissions. It is easy, saves money, improves quality of life, and imposes relatively minor inconveniences. This is the first step towards saving our lovely cities. The next step is to get the rest of the world to follow our lead.